Good morning, team. Good morning, everyone. Welcome aboard to our morning note. My name is Carlos Garcia, founder and CEO of Guard Capital. It is Wednesday, July 24th, 2024. Glad to be with you this morning and every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on our YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to our videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. And check out the bottom part of the screen, scrolling on the bottom, is our live market blog link on our Discord. So get all the information you need throughout your trading day right here on the live market blog. Breaking news and real-time commentary. We'd love to have you on board. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Now I got to move this over. My apologies. Dow futures are down 203 points. Nasdaq's down 1.45%, down 288 points. That's Tesla. That's Google. We talked about weakness in tech. So we're going to go over the Nasdaq chart here in a second. It was a tough one yesterday, so we're going to go over it. Russell down 0.70%. S&P down nearly 1%. Again, most of that is the earnings of Google and Tesla. Crude oil's up 1% this morning. Gasoline's up 1.31%. Gold futures down 0.70. Silver down, or is up 0.88. Gold is up as well. Copper's down a quarter point. Bitcoin's up 1.13%. Fingers crossed. That's great. We're still gunning for 70K. 34.50 on Ethereum futures. Dollar yen is down 180 pips, 153.81 this morning. All right, so let's start with Tesla. Okay, and we did a survey or a poll yesterday on it, right before the earnings, obviously. So here was the poll. If I can find it. Here we go. So I picked bearish. I said yesterday that I thought Tesla was bearish, but no real need to trade it. But we just know where we're going. And 36 other souls agreed with me. Bearish gained was 40% on terms of the survey. 39% was bullish. So kind of half and half in a sense, as you had Chop and you had Just Here for the Show. So the bears win the day. So let's go over it. What exactly happened with Tesla? And really the main thing is the margins, A. And what I talked about that earnings is all about margins. Remember, inflation is coming down. What does that mean, guys? Pricing power is coming down. Understand that. So if you don't have inflation, now you have to lower prices. And where does that hit? Your margins. And Tesla's margins are getting hit. Now, again, this has been a stock that's been on fire since we hit the bottom end of this channel at 141. So this channel has been pretty much a pretty good guide for us really since the beginning of Q2. So we had this pop. Are we talking possible double top? Are we talking resistance at 280? You name it. Either way, we filled this gap here at 231. That's pretty much set in stone unless we get some pop this morning right away. So at least we can check off this box. So let's take a look at Tesla in terms of where we could be and where do I think we can go. Where we could be, let's say, downside potential. Right here on the cusp of around 225 or so. That's the top end of this channel. I said this yesterday in the morning. A retest of this and a pop, to me, seems like the likeliest scenario. To me, doesn't mean we got to run into anything today. But again, watch it carefully. And I'm going to pivot this in a second. Next, you have a gap to fill here at 212. This was the gap, I believe, from the deliveries in the beginning of the month. So if we recheck that at 220, in my opinion, that is a pretty decent buy zone for a pop higher because you do also have, see this red line here? That's your 200-day. Hold above there. And guess what's coming, guys? See that yellow line? That's the 50-day. If we bounce off this trend line, a golden cross is imminent on Tesla. I think you stay long. I think you still target this upside gap fill for the next 12 months. End of the year, I mean, that's going to be tough. But the only thing that made me a little concerned on Tesla, in my opinion, is the competition. And the more competition comes, prices are going to go lower. So again, we will see how Elon and the Tesla team kind of manage their way around that in terms of, going against the Chinese competition of BYD. They're offering 0% loans on their inventory. So again, anything to generate sales. Profit, at least sales growth is slightly there, but really the issue is the margins. Robotaxi apparently is in October, so that should be a little bit of a boom, at least in terms of the initial headline. So right now, if I was doing a price target for the next 12 months, I think you stay bullish until 289 for the next 12 months. I think that worst case scenario, we fill this gap. We're setting up for a golden cross. The second half of the year, in my opinion, is going to be rather strong. We're still in that summer, kind of snooze, I guess. Second half of July is crap. Right into earnings. Here we are. And remember, like I said as well in the other videos, that especially this weekend, it's kind of tough in the next these past 2 weeks here after we had such a sore job the first 2 weeks for any kind of equity flows to come in. So again, that seasonality. Let's see what happens in August. Again, I don't expect tons of boom or anything like that because again, it's kind of quiet. People are taking vacation. It's summer, but none of this is really too surprising. The question remains, where does Tesla hold in support? Do we fill that gap to 212? So that's going to be something on my radar for sure the next couple of weeks. As in my opinion, worst case scenario, either we fill this gap or we bounce off 225. And the reason I say that is because of that golden cross. Let's take a look at Nasdaq rather quickly. Nasdaq futures was tough yesterday to trade. Something else, yes, absolutely. Got faked out personally. We had the break of 20,000. We got to 20,090. So I got in long at 20,050, got stopped out at 20,000 or 19,990. And then guess what? Like we talked about this week, 20,000 being our resistance, we checked it, we broke it, and then we came back down. So is it over? Is it over? Carlos, is it over? Take a look here at this gap. That has been filled. That was a rollover gap. If you guys remember, here's the daily rollover gap. Now that's filled. Who cares? That was just a change of contract. But this yellow line here, that 50-day moving average, we have been below it before. That's in April. Remember, April OPEX, we had some weakness going into May, and then we had the bounce. The 50-day, to me, that looks to be support moving forward. So if we go ahead and tag 19,563, I'm actually looking to go long back to 20,000. That's about 440 points of range. Won't be in one shot, but we'll stay around there, in my opinion, until 20,000 breaks. Then we can target the 20-day moving average of around 20,247. Let's get to 19,563. That's really my target for today. And if we do, then I would like to go long on this bounce. And it could be an initial relief bounce. It doesn't have to be, just a limit up shot. No, we're not looking for that. So we looked over Tesla. Let's take a look at Google. And Google was rather neutral. I had a couple DMs yesterday on Discord asking me about Google. And I didn't even put a poll up because it was rather neutral in my opinion. I mean, it could have gone either way, just in my opinion. So looking at the daily, you could see we're at 176. So we're right around the top end of this upward channel. Pretty similar to where Tesla is, right? Kind of retesting. That's, I think, is what we're doing. We're retesting some breakouts. Completely natural, completely normal in terms of a bull market. It's just profit taking, discounts, you name it. Apple's still holding up relatively well. Hasn't broke my alert or anything. Just pivoting to other mega cap names. But looking at it here, Google hasn't really been of a concern. I can't even say this is even worth it to buy in terms of long term because it's not enough. It's very, very minute. Now, Tesla at least would be a little bit more of a opportunity maybe, but Google, I think Google is one of those names that you're just owning. And if you want to own it or buy more, you're pretty much dollar cost averaging the most part. So we will see what exactly happens in that scenario. Let's take a look at small caps. Small caps was something that I have been speaking about plenty. And that was one I was watching yesterday. I was like, man, should I go long IWM? And IWM was something I've been watching really in the past couple of weeks, and we've been trading it. But again, not enough follow through on RTYs. We got to pull back in futures. But guys, we're still above that upside triangle. So that hasn't really changed. The question remains, do we get a break above 2267? I'm going to put alert above 2275. And if that does break, then I'm looking at RTY, possible IWM for calls. And in terms of earnings for the rest of the week, not tons. We do have tons, but not really the mega cap names that really shift the market, like a Tesla, like a Google, for example. So look at Tesla this morning. Look, see that yellow trend line? I think that's kind of the trend line that we had from the daily. It may not be perfect one for one. Daily does not show after hours trading. Let's go to the 4 hour. That'll give us a little more. And again, this is that same channel and we're right on it. So let's see if it holds up. But that looks pretty good to me for a possibility of a bounce play. But at this very moment, I don't think we need to rush into anything. We do have that gap to fill at 213. So right now, again, I want to see the close of the day and see where we go from there. But again, we're other than these two earnings, Chipotle's today, I mean, I don't think that's going to be a major market mover. We don't have tons of news. You may have a couple of speakers here and there, a couple of headlines, but not in terms of economic data, to be quite honest for you guys. So Friday we have PCE number, but we talked about inflation, not that big of a deal. Let price action be our guide. And I think we're doing fine. Just yesterday was that last 2 days in terms of options trading for me has just been slop. I mean, just no direction. Futures have been very difficult. Again, I got faked out on that break above 20,050. It is below 20,000. So again, let's see if we tag that 50-day. Futures traders will keep an eye on it. I know yesterday was rough. Last couple of days have been rough, but I mean, it's just been the price action lately, and we'll get over it. We'll be better off for it. Not get over it, but we're gonna get over that hump. Excuse me. Let's answer some questions. Am I loading up on the S&P dip? Not much of a dip, to be quite honest. This isn't really much of a dip. Not even correction yet. You haven't even filled this gap. You're not even at the 50. This would probably be my next target, 54.67, similar to the Nasdaq 50-day. Still in an uptrend. I don't think this is enough. You're not even close to the dip that we had back in April 19th. I mean, that was below the 50-day. So before we considered a major or a viable dip where we're kind of excited, let's go ahead and get to the 50-day, in my opinion. I think that's probably your best bet. Same thing with the NASDAQ. Let's take a look at Nike. Good old Nike, which has taken a beating. And at that point, you're just looking to see if, okay, when does the bleeding stop, right? That's kind of how it goes. 68.15. That's the alert I have. That's the highs from 2016. And then we finally broke out of that, in 2019, 2018? And then we retested and then we bounced off it. So let's use $68, $70 as kind of a level of support. But again, guys, it's bearish. I mean, we sliced that trend line. Nike needs to do some kind of turnaround, and I'm sure they will. It's a big brand. I don't think they're going to get bought out by anybody. Maybe a merger in the future. Who knows? Cross your fingers. But I remember, so many names in COVID that were absolutely brutalized, and then over time they work out. So Nike going through maybe a turnaround phase. We'll see. We know it's a very much a legacy brand, well known in the world, but could be those margins as well in the future. Prices are going down. They're going to have to lower the prices of Air Force Ones again. Thank God. Mara, yes, of course. Let's go over it. And again, Bitcoin's up. So at least that. And Mara's green this morning. It's not like, it's blood red, thankfully. And we're back at this 20-day. See this channel, this downward trend line, excuse me. We'll see if we hold that. We're bouncing up. So let's give it some time. We've traded Mara before. Nothing new. It's volatile. That's the cost of admission. You want to get in this club, you're going to have to give a little bit, meaning your sanity. That's the cost of admission. Thoughts on Meta, excuse me. All right. So Meta and Netflix and Google are pretty much kind of in the same sector. Let's just kind of, information technology. Meta is in that kind of sector. Let's just kind of keep that equivalence. It's down because of Google. That's basically it. Is there anything that stands out here that should make us do something one way or another? Well, we can do a short-term trend line break if that's the case. Let's do short-term. And we're right below it. So we are at 474. Let's see on the 4-hour chart. Yeah, breaking down below here. You have a gap to fill, guys. If you remember from 401, it filled on the 4-hour, but not the daily. And it's a daily gap. So more than likely, if we were to get a pullback on Meta, remember they report earnings, I believe next week or in 2 weeks. 400 is a possibility. Remember, we got there down here on the previous earnings call in April, and then we bounced, but we never filled that January earnings gap. Looking at Meta here, in order for you to be bullish, in my opinion, you got to get above 500. 500 has got to be that first line of defense that we got to get over, that first hump. Let's take a look at Amazon. Amazon holding on to that 183.50 level. That's the level I have to support, kind of short-term support. We're still below this wedge. The question is, do we reclaim it? Above 195, it gets interesting, but the Bezos wall is 201.20. Anything here to be short or to want to short below 180 possibly, but we're not even close. I mean, well, we're about $4.50 away, so a little bit ways out of that. I think Amazon right here is rather neutral. Let's take a look at ARM. ARM on the 4-hour chart, not much going on. It's down this morning with tech, obviously. Possible head and shoulders on the 1-hour. So the question remains, can we get above 175? Put that alert there. We're at 167.30. If it stays below 175, ARM has more pullback to go, in my opinion. This would be a head and shoulders on the 1-hour, short term. Let's see. I think I just went over Amazon. UPS. I'm thinking the September 135 calls. This is from Kyle. And UPS pulled back. They had earnings, if you guys remember. Now we have a gap to fill here at 143.27. Gaps work both ways, earnings up and down. Let's go to the weekly because we really have to stretch this out in terms of UPS price action. All right. So last breakout level, I guess we can use right around, 125? You can see 125 has been that kind of ceiling really since when? COVID recovery or middle of COVID, for example. And then we had that push, everyone's getting packages delivered, higher volume, more money, more revenue for UPS. Eventually that gives away and pulls back. So we're kind of round tripped that COVID pop. The question remains now, are we returning to the mean, which this is a $100 stock based on the past 12 years, or is it going to be a bounce from there? And it's the old adage, prior resistance becomes support. So if we're below 125, UPS might be just stuck here between $100 and 125 for years, actually. Where's the revenue growth going to come from? Amazon is really one of the larger logistic companies now. UPS, Federal Express, DHL. I don't think DHL is a publicly traded company. Maybe they are. But it looks like UPS is reverting to the mean, if anything. Better hold 125 is all I'm saying, because if it doesn't, I'm actually thinking puts, Kyle, not calls. So you need to hold 125. If you were going for the 135 calls, 125 is your support if you want to trade that. 135 from now into September sounds very optimistic. And I believe maybe you're looking for that gap fill on the daily. Look for volume, if anything, Kyle. Trying to expand the strikes in terms of options. You're on the right path looking for September. Maybe you're trying to time the rate cuts, possibly. If you see something around November tends to be pretty bullish. December, especially for these logistical companies. Why? It's the holidays, Christmas time. They're going to raise guidance on people buying stuff online. That means more work for UPS, more labels to print, more money in their pocket. So kind of keep an eye on December, November strike, if anything, or expiry, rather than September. I think you're kind of cutting yourself in terms of time. It's 60 days away. So 60 days away. So we will see what we get. All right. There we are, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I feel like we're doing like a class every day, and I kind of enjoy it. It's really fun. Thank you guys so much for being up with me this morning with your questions. Looks like Tesla's kind of holding on here right around 225. So be careful. If you had puts on Tesla, I highly recommend you close them this morning. So again, if you were somebody that watched the video on Sunday and we talked about Tesla and you said, hey, man, I'm going to short it because Carlos says he likes it short. Congratulations. Good for you. Get the hell out of it this morning, in my opinion, so you can make your profits. All right, guys. The most important thing here in this channel is you guys make money. All right. Get paid and let's rock and roll. Have a great rest of your morning. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Cheers all.